Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our third Chinese Dota Grand Finals in as many days. I'm LD of Beyond the Summit. I'm joined here by Cinderin, and it's time now to cast the WVW NEST June Finals, best of three. So it, in theory, could be a shorter Grand Finals. But that being said, I just have a feeling we might be in for some 60-plus minute Chinese Dota games. With that being said, Cinderin, how you doing? Are you here?
Feeling we're in for some Void games.
Oh yeah, I have you.
Not this one. You're not showing it yet. I have a feeling you haven't shown the draft yet. But yeah, we did cast 4 games yesterday. That was the grand finals between IG and DK, which IG managed to take 3-1. So coming off hot from a victory from yesterday, and a big part of their victories was actually playing this kind of mid-game oriented strategy. The question is if NewBee is going to let them do that, or if we are indeed going to see these long games. But we had 4 games yesterday, and the longest one I think was less. Was it still less than 30 minutes, or was it like 32 or something like that? Very, very short series overall.
Yeah, by recent Chinese Dota standards, that was overall a pretty short series. There was some. I think the longest game was like maybe 40 minutes or so. I'm trying to remember. There might have been one long game last night, but overall, the average match time was nowhere more than like 30 to 40 minutes, which is quite low for at least the Chinese Dota games that I've cast. Not to say all games are long, but they have a way, of just extending onward. But look at the bans, I guess. This is going to be NewBee versus IG. Game number 1, again, best of 3. Actually, before we look at the bans, I do want to mention these teams have played 3 series as of late. The most important one by far was the WPC 2014 semifinals, because that was a big LAN tournament, a lot of money, and IG took it convincingly 2-0, but since then, they've played 2 more BO3s, and NewBee came out on top. They took down IG 2-1 in the CDEC New Star Cup upper bracket semifinal, and then again in the semifinals of the V-Games tournament, which eliminated IG from contention. So I still say overall, I think it's 50-50. I think it's very close between these 2 teams, but NewBee, I guess, has won the last 2 BO3s.
Yeah, I guess overall, if you were to choose a top 3 right now in China, I would suppose you would say DK, IG, and NewBee, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of just a step ahead of, I guess, LGD would be the next team on the list.
I feel like, yeah, I think
Vichy, it's a little hard.
I think Vichy is a little bit more like flashy when they're winning, and their individual talent, especially with FY, is perhaps a bit higher, but LGD is drafting a bit more diversely, and I think the draft's a bigger concern for Vichy, so it's tough to say. All of these Chinese teams look solid, and I think all of them can finish top 8 at TI, but yeah, I don't know. I would agree with you, though. DK, IG, NewBee seem to be just a step above their other Chinese brethren for now.
As far as this game goes, we've got the second picks coming out from IG. They went for Tide, and we saw this hero every game yesterday by DK. They played it all 4 games, I believe, didn't they? The Marana, or was it 3 out of 4? But regardless, they really prioritized that high, and this time around, NewBee will be grabbing Enchantress first, so it goes through to IG, and we were talking about yesterday how we thought it was kind of underwhelming in most games that DK played it. You mentioned that teams are getting better at playing against it. They're getting used to looking out for the arrows when you play it every single game. But IG is one of those teams that don't run it all the time. But I think Chuan in particular is exceptional on his support Marana, which I suppose we're going to see in this game.
Yeah, I would lean that way. He tends to play more of those 4-position playmaking type supports, and speaking of Chuan heroes, it was a first overall pick Enchantress. This was a hero that I don't think we saw it at all in the series yesterday.
It was banned all games in first phase yesterday.
Yeah, it's a hero that teams normally will ban against IG. IG actually banned it at least once against DK, but it was normally, I want to say it was DK banning at least 3 or 4 times in that series. So IG will let it through. They're not afraid of it, apparently. And we wanted to see more Bat yesterday. Neither team really seemed too high on the hero, but NewBee,
I don't know if we wanted it.
Well, we felt the hero was still deserving of a high value pick,
yes.
I guess you could say. And NewBee are going to give it the credit that it made well deserve. Is Xiaowei, fantastic Bat player, and it really suits him in the off lane. And he's been, I'd say, almost exclusively playing these more initiator type heroes. We don't see him as often on like the semi carry off laners. So Bat Rider just fits in perfectly to the Director 8 mold, as it were.
Yeah, I can't really believe I'm saying this, but after the games yesterday, I'm looking forward to seeing a Bat Rider game. And it's a little weird because this hero has been kind of top two or top three pick and ban over the last months, but then suddenly it just disappeared. At least in the series yesterday, which was 4 games, it wasn't even picked or banned. It was just completely ignored, which is very unusual for this hero. So I hope that either this game is going to display why Bat Rider wasn't even considered yesterday, or that it's going to prove that it's still an amazing hero. Because I think in every single Western scene game, Bat Rider is still a first phase pick or ban. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but
I have not
really
watched
think so.
D2L the past few days, but in general, outside of that slash D2CL, yeah, I would be very surprised not to see Bat bans. And from during Dream League, he was getting banned almost every game. So, we see a Lich ban from NewBee, which the Lich bans we have seen on occasion, mainly when the Void is picked, just because Chronosphere and Chain Frost is a very strong combo. But I guess NewBee here wanting to just get ahead in the laning stage and potentially worried about Frost Armor slowing down their follow-up push. By the way, another hero that is normally not ban-worthy is the Viper, and IG are going to ban him out. So, I mean, I think we have seen this kind of general transition towards two things over the past couple weeks. One is a lot of team fight. We've seen a lot more Tidehunter, Enigma, these types of heroes gaining priority. And the other thing, and Void, of course. And the other thing we've seen, Sind, is just more emphasis on tanky cores, heroes that can push early and be in the front lines. Heroes like Viper, Razor is another great example as he gets picked up now by IG. And I guess they finally entered the ban-worthy state, at least in the second round.
Yeah, this makes me wonder if the Viper was banned just to pick up Razor, because we saw the games we saw yesterday. In my book, Razor actually does fairly well against Viper and can even win the lane, but the 2 matchups I think we saw yesterday, Razor versus Viper, he kind of lost pretty hard. And maybe the idea here for IG is, okay, we kind of already set up for putting the Razor mid, and he can stand against pretty much any hero in the mid lane. There are very few heroes that Razor does not fare well against. The only one that really comes to mind for me is Queen of Pain, but she doesn't really get picked much these days. So it's a solid mid lane pick. It's a solid mid game hero, and they have good team fight setup, of course, with Moonlight Shadow into Ravage or arrows, etc. So it can work here, and you're absolutely right. We saw a lot of tankiness yesterday. We saw Doom is getting a lot of priority. He's banned now. Viper, Death Prophet was picked twice, if not 3 times. Shadow Shaman as a support just for the pushing. That's not a tanky hero, but he works well in the lineup.
Right.
And I could easily see IG, speaking of Shadow Shaman, going for it in this game. I think it fits their strategy very well.
And NewBee go Veno. It's actually a hero we have seen a handful of times in the Chinese scene. It's normally, I'd say the main time I've seen it is as, like, not a counter to OD, but as a solution for him mid, where you just max the Plague Wards, get the passive, you can even skip Gale entirely, and you always have mana for at least a ward or 2. So that's generally when I've seen Veno picked up by the Chinese teams, and I'll just put a mid against OD, but NewBee do it here. It's not against an OD, and I am curious to see how the Veno pick works out. Maybe just worried about the push from IG in the mid game, and as we know, Veno, one of the better D-pushing supports, just if you get 6 or 7 wards down, and it's very hard, or even farmers, whether they want to run them as a support or a mid, but yeah, they go Veno, and this does put them a little light on lockdown now. 2 supports with no reliable stuns, and I wonder if we see IG look to punish that, maybe get someone like an anti-mage who relies a lot on mobility and can take them into the late game. But for now, NewBee, well, the Veno in theory could go mid, so I suppose that's an X factor IG will have to worry about.
I love this gyro pick. I think were we talking about this at the TI4 qualifiers, how we were like really surprised that gyro just disappeared, and then suddenly I believe there was this Chinese tournament that ran right after the TI4 qualifiers for China, and NewBee brought in gyrocopter and picked it in multiple games and actually ended up winning the entire tournament, if I remember correctly. So I think NewBee is the only team that really regularly picks the gyrocopter, and I love them for it, because I think it's a very solid carry that just disappeared for no apparent reason. His teamfight capabilities are great. It is a very teamfight-oriented metagame, as we talked about. He's a great defensive and aggressive carry and can really take advantage of an early laning stage, which they're definitely setting up for with Enchantress Veno. So I really like this from NewBee. I think it's going to work out very well for them here.
Yeah, I like Gyro. I also like Kunkka in that role. Now, the one issue here is if you lane him, like, say, mid, you might struggle a bit against the Razor, assuming he does go there. But These heroes that can just fight constantly. They have the boat, the gyrocopter ultimate up every minute or so, and well, IG are expecting the farming Venom. They ban out the Lion. So again, I mentioned this is something we've seen in the past out of, I think it's Moo who's played it for NewBee, but yeah, let's see if NewBee have the same idea with this Venomancer, and if so, in terms of other support options for them, I guess the main other one that's going to do well in those sorts of engagements, well, there's a lot of heroes that can D-push, but I feel like Disruptor is one of the more popular supports to deal with the 5-man aggression. But let's see what direction NewBee want to take it. And IG, it's a Death Prophet, so now you got to worry about Roche if you're NewBee. They have Batrider to fight around the pit. And Veno's pretty good there with the wards to scout and harass, but IG can take Roche quickly, especially if they get a medallion on like the Murano. This Roche is just gonna melt.
I don't even know what 5th pick NewBee can take to actually be able to contest Roche without a really good initiation from Batrider. This Death Ball that IG are running, which is very similar to what they played yesterday in some of the games against DK, I am not sure if NewBee wants to try to fight into that. So their last pick needs to they need to set their style right now. Do they want to try to really roll over the lanes early on and get a super dominating early game support, or are they actually trying to play a late game or a teamfight oriented lineup? And they will finish off with an Elder Titan. So I guess it is a support Veno. And yeah, that means probably Moo will be... Does Moo play Elder Titan mid?
No, I would say generally it's going to be an off lane for Xiao 8.
So it's mid Batrider.
Yeah. I think given that they go Elder Titan, that they do run it on occasion. I'd say normally it's Xiao 8 more commonly, but you know, Sin, I guess this means they want to take it late. Now you've got to look at the Elder Titan Astral Spirit and Gyro farming up a bunch of damage items. If he gets big, IG are going to have a hard time breaking high ground, but I still feel like there's this pretty large mid-game window where NewBee are going to... They're going to be on the back foot if they don't crush the lanes, and I guess the X factor there is Banana. We've seen Enchantresses in the past few weeks just... Mainly Chuan has been the one that's impressed me the most in the Chinese scene. Just take over the laning stage, and they never let the enemy team get going. So perhaps NewBee just roll this from the word go, but if they don't, they are going to be in a very defensive posture come mid-game.
Yeah, my main concern for them is that, apart from the Batrider initiation, they don't have a single reliable stun. That's something that you... Most of the times in competitive matches, you look for multiple ways of initiating or just solid control, and NewBee have really good damage between Gyrocopter and Veno's ultimates, of course, and a lot of slow, but they don't have stuns, and that means that IG don't necessarily need to get BKBs in this game, so they can itemize in a way that's way more cost-efficient when it comes to HP. We might see Death Prophet going for a Bloodstone build here or an early Heart. We could even see Razor running that path, and when you don't get BKBs, it just really helps a lot. Alternatively, you get a fast pipe on Luo here on the Razor, and you try to end the game early, because such a big part of NewBee's lineup is actually built around that. And although you could also get a BKB to counter a lot of the magic damage, I still think maybe just raw HP here could be a really good choice for IG's lineup, especially with the strategy they're running, which wants to end it in the mid-game.
Yeah, on that note, let's run through the teams quickly here as IG are getting aggressive. They want to slow down this early Enchantress movement, and they will deploy 2 wards. A Sentry, actually make it 4 as they drop down 2 more at the last second here. They dropped this Sentry here. I believe that was spotted by NewBee because they immediately started pinning it out. Then they also dropped another Observer near the big camp and blocking the medium camp, as well as putting an Observer ward that'll spot any standard safe lane pole camp rotation. So IG really focused on getting aggressive in the lane stage. They are going to run aggressive Chuan. They throw out an arrow. Chuan connecting on Banana here. He is already skilled up Enchant, and well, if Faith gets with the shackles, that's first blood, I think. Yeah, Stretch Armstrong on the move, and Chuan strikes first for IG. Well, that was easy. And unfortunately, he had already skilled Enchant. I mean, you really don't want to go heal at level 1, but maybe it's worth it if it means you don't give up first blood.
It's one of those situations where I would still say it's better to give first blood and then get your enchant, because it's like when you're playing Darkseer in the offlane and you're forced to skill Surge at level 1, and then you're like in the offlane and you have Surge and you can't do anything and you can't go jungle either because you don't have any mechanic for that. So
yeah,
I would say, you know, you got arrowed, you died. Now you can at least move on and get a creep somewhere. But yeah, I am trying to reconnect into the game. I'm having some really odd lag issues on this servers again. I guess maybe the routing from me to Perfect World servers is just exceptionally bad. I'm not sure about it, but
I don't think there's such a thing
again.
as good routing, unless you're inside China. But All right, we'll introduce the teams now, guys, while Sinner makes his way back in. We've got YYF on the offlane Tide, Faith playing that support Shadow Shaman, Morana being handled by Chuan. They're going to smoke up now, make their move probably towards mid. 430 on the Death Prophet, and that does put Luo on the safe lane Razor. On the offlane, we've got Xiao playing the Razor as the Smoke Gank makes its way towards bottom, actually. Banana also smoked on the Enchantress. Mu on the solo mid Elder Titan. That puts Song Shung onto the support Veno, trying to pull but not having much luck. And Hao, as the safe lane farming Gyro. He went boots first. He was worried about the aggressive movement, and indeed, he's getting some, but 2 smokes crossing in the night now. Faith will be the one caught out, and this is going to be a quick turnaround. Actually, the Gale clipping 2. That's going to put Chuan in a very awkward position as Faith is run down. No deny available, it looks like, and Chuan will also be forced back. So a smoke for a smoke, but NewBee coming out clearly on top. And you've gone aggressive, Sind. You've gotten first blood, but with the Enchantress now getting some creeps, IG are, end of the day, still both level 1 and gonna have a tough time staying in this jungle, I feel. As are you still reconnecting, or?
I'm getting some laggy animations, but at least things are moving, so that's an upgrade.
That's a step in the right direction.
I'm really surprised that IG chose to run for an aggressive trialing here. Going into, first of all, Gyro is one of the best early game carries just in the laning stage, and when you have Veno and Enchantress with that, you should expect that this is pretty much impossible territory to go into, and they've given up now. They're going to leave YYF down there alone, and they're going to rotate their supports to the top lane, so at least they secured him level 3.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Maybe start stacking Ancients.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't farm them yet, he can do it soon, but hold that thought. Songshun comes in with the Gale. Hao does have the boots first, and, well, the chase begins on the YYF. The Kraken Show will proc soon, I imagine, but he's already been brought very low, and he'll Papa Tango make his way out. Yeah, no Ancient stacking just yet. And the one other thing I want to mention, because we didn't really talk about it much, but Mu is actually, they did a hero swap, so Mu ended up going mid, and Xiao did go offlane in the end as the Bat Rider. But there's nowhere really to stack as an arrow. Narrowly misses on Xiao. Would have been a kill if it connected. But his jungle is all freedom much right now. Banana's taking the few camps that are available. Actually, the one big camp that's available. And they've yet to stack for this Bat Rider whatsoever.
Yeah, but at the very least, Xiao is level 4, almost 5 in the offlane, so perhaps he won't need it that much. Of course, his Blink Dagger is going to be delayed a bit, but he is getting the levels, and if they manage to, for example, take a tower or maybe gank his lane once or something like that, that could secure his Blink as well. If he just goes brown boots into Blink, he's going to have it in, I guess, sub 10 minutes anyway, even without jungle stacks, so I think he's looking alright so far.
Yeah, and certainly better than YYF, who, despite the help, is out of regen. He's salved himself up. This will be his last regen for some time, unless he continues to ferry it. But yeah, Xiao sitting on 370 gold. Looks like the Tranquil Boots are on their way, along with some Clarity Potions. And yeah, not going aggressive, or rather going aggressive means that this Bat has had an easy time of it. Already hits level 5. Arrow coming through. Oh, it's going to connect on Xiao. This looks to be a kill now. Luo with the level 2 Plasma Field, and it is used. A little bit early there, I think. But either way, IG get the kill.
I'm gonna have to try to reconnect again. This is really not good.
Welcome to Chinese Dota.
Yeah, I'm trying again. Well, the good thing is it's not you having troubles, so we can actually stream out the game. That's the more important thing. It would be worse if it was the other way around, right?
Yeah, it's okay, buddy. We'll just never let you cast again.
You feel me?
Well, they're pulling the lane off. I feel you, bro. I feel you, man. That's the Rasta line from Dota 1, right? I feel you, man.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The Shadow Shaman creep. But yeah, either way, they do wrap around bottom lane. They get a kill in the offlane Tide, and it took them a while as Anchor Smash and a lack of mon on Hao meant they just had to keep on slowly right-clicking him down. But the pressure mounts here. NewBee looking for their first tower of the game. It would be the first tower overall, and it will go down. The question is who gets the last hit. Hao with Phase Boots wants it, but the deny comes through by Chuan, and now an arrow connects as well. Oh no, sorry, actually Hao did get the last hit. So they at least get the tower, but IG, nonetheless, well worth it, I feel, getting that kill on the Gyrocopter. He's level 5, and now Tidehunter almost has Ravage.
Still trying. Okay, now I reconnected, but heroes are still not moving. Maybe...
I recommend just try it a few more times.
Yeah,
usually it just starts working. Yeah.
This is a really bad streak right now. Does it make a difference whether I restart Steam or not, or Dota 2, or should I just keep reconnecting?
Just reconnect. It just tries a new path to the server each time, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, in the meantime, we'll keep the cast flowing. 430 has been putting some pressure on the mid lane, but Mu just keeps on spamming it out with the Astral Spirit, and He's keeping up in farm quite nicely. We have not seen the Elder Titan mid in some time, but I think against this type of hero, a Death Prophet, not really the best at zoning other bottle crowers out of the lane. It's worked out well for NewBee. Moo now hits level 7, has the max spirit, and has taken an early point in the Earth Splitter. We often see just the aura max and skip Earth Splitter until later, but I suppose as solo mid, they're looking for a little bit more crowd control in these team fights. Xiao8 will make a rotation now off of the off lane and heads towards mid. And IG get ravaged. So IG, NewBee, both teams getting a lot of their key levels and items, and it seems we may see a clash fairly soon. No blink yet on YYF. He's still got a ways to go for that, and Xiao8 about 1,100 gold off. So if they want to wait for their full initiating kits, then it may still be some time before they fully engage.
And okay, I'm back in, and heroes are moving. Fingers crossed that this stays this way. So, as far as Moo goes with skilling the ultimate, I think the reasoning here might just be that it has so good synergy with Batrider's Lasso that that's a reliable way of landing the Earth Splitter, because we talked about earlier, they don't really have too much setup to engage in teamfights. They've got great damage and slows, but no real stuns to land the Splitter with. But if Xiao8 can land the Lasso, that 3-second duration is enough for the Earth Splitter to land as well, and that would be a kill on Ferrari, which they were thinking about. But with Xiao8, are you surprised he went for Tranquil Boots first? Because it's something we see less and less frequently, I feel, with so much focus on the early blink, but he's going to delay it for the Tranquils here.
I feel like it's fairly common, like maybe about 50-50 as to whether players get it or not. I guess the idea here was he wanted to be able to stay top, and oh, he cancels a TP. I'm not sure where he was actually TPing to, but maybe a misclick. Yeah, I don't know. I think we've seen a decent amount of offlane Tranquil. I guess it depends on which games you're watching, though.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying Batriders don't get them. They still generally get them, but it's often the second choice after the Blink Dagger. And I think Xiao8 was actually getting enough farm. He would have almost... You see, if he didn't have the Tranquils now, he could have had his Blink, I think. So
yeah,
it would have been an 8.5 minute. Now he needs another 800 gold, so... Okay, he wouldn't have had it yet, but almost, if he wanted brown boots. So it delays your impact a little bit, and then the question is the trade-off worth it? What have the Tranquils provided him with yet? Has he avoided a gank? He still got killed once. I haven't really helped him out much in the jungle, I think, and he hasn't found a gank with the extra move speed either, so I'm not really convinced that this was the best choice here, but I still think it's generally the best choice of boots after the blink for Bat. It's just so good with the move speed and armor.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is he expected an earlier push than what he got, and in that case, having the extra regen and armor might be the difference between going down to a gank or not. But then IG just kept on pulling, so the way it works out, yeah, I think you're right that he would have been better off skipping them and going straight for blink. But he finally gets his jungle now. The Enchantress will give him a little bit of room, and the wards have all expired. So here comes NewBee. They're smoking, and they're smoking with the gyrocopter. This is a really bold move from NewBee, and, well, let's see if it pays off. They're going to lose a tier 1 top already for it. And IG have to be a little suspicious, because they've seen no defense and no trade. And Faith may get caught, but he's already hit level 6, already has the wards, and, well, they get the Shadow Shaman, but is it worth that much movement? I don't know. They're not getting anything else off of this.
Yeah, it was one of the things yesterday that IG really impressed me with against DK was how good they were at their movement around the map and at predicting what the enemy was doing. And I think IG at that point, when they saw everyone going missing from bottom, they were like, okay, if they're going to start crossing the map with the gyro, we have enough time to take the tower and maybe we get a casualty, but that's fine. Like, this trade is obviously favoring IG. YYF also gets a lot of space in the bot lane because that gank was exposed top lane, so... It's generally been... Would you agree that IG's two biggest strengths yesterday were their support movements and the drafting? I think they've been really good. And their map awareness maybe as the third.
And I think the other thing is that DK made their drafting look better than even what it might be, just because they're so stubborn about this support Mirana. But yeah, their drafting was really solid for IG. And now, well, the counter initiation comes. Hao's going to fight too with a cooldown. Ravage is thrown out, and... that'll get YYF out for now, though Sungshung wants to pursue, but it's a defensive Ravage, and they still get a kill. Really nice cooldown by Hao. And to be honest, we've not really seen IG hit their stride yet. The Death Prophet hasn't yet to even damage the mid tower, really. This is the power of the Elder Titan. Just keeps on spamming out the lane. And now with Gyro getting close to a BKB, not to say IG can't deal with a BKB, but they don't have crowd control that goes through it, and I think NewBee are in a really good shape to defend these outer towers. They've only lost the least important tower in the game, top lane, for both sides. So, and now with a blink on bat, I'm not sure if IG's getting enough done through this laning stage, to be honest.
No, I agree. I think it's time to. Well, now that they used the Ravage, I don't know what you would do in this situation apart from wait for it. Lasso's gonna come in on Luo. Good call down again.
Oh man, Hao's doing a lot of work. Luo melted quickly. The Earth Splitter's here. It brings 3 low, but hasn't killed them off just yet. Can Mu club them down? He goes for a stomp. It connects on 2, and they do manage to clean up a bit more. 430 on the retreat out. The Imp comes through. It's a long-range snipe by Banana. He makes it a 2-fer. They bring down 2 cores. The Tide does live, but in the end, Hao, like you said, another good call down, and the flat cannon with the Elder Titan Aura just does so much work, even without big damage items. Hao he shredded them, and we're seeing a very scary team fight for NewBee. Not much crowd control, but with Ravage unavailable for that fight, I think if they have Ravage, IG take that convincingly. But without it, NewBee, they get confident, they get aggressive, and they come out on top there.
I believe that was also the first time the Blink Dagger from Batrider was used, so you always have that. The first time you get a Blink gank is usually successful because the enemy team doesn't know it's coming. Next time, they know the Batrider has the Blink and might not be caught off like that, but what an amazing Earth Splitter that was. Hitting all 3 heroes there at the end, they only managed to get 1 additional kill off it, but considering how little he actually has to set up with, that was pretty much perfectly placed by Mu, and now he has a mech. And Ravage is still on cooldown. I'm not sure NewBee is aware of this because it's such a short time before it's up, but looks like they might not even care and just try to go for this mid-tier 1. They definitely have what it takes to slow siege it.
Yeah, slow siege is the key. I doubt we'll see them like dive the tower or anything, but they'll spread out the map a bit and discourage the use of Ravage. They'll send Hao top lane, they defend bottom with Xiao 8, or at least prep for a defense. Looking for Luo, but like you mentioned, doesn't mech. He's pretty tanky, they'll still lasso him. Unfortunately, the unstable current is really going to slow things down, and now Luo able to make his way out, moves on the chase, but I don't know if they've got the damage to bring him down. There's no mana for a flame break, and it looks like Luo will make his escape. Nope, Xiao 8 brings forward again, but that's going to be the end of the aggression, so unable to go through, and that was without Razor even using the mech, so I don't think that was really a well-advised chase, and in the end he will back off.
That was a great prediction from Chuan as well, being in position there. Just feeling that gank could be coming from Batrider, and he's very quick on the arrow button there, and this might secure them Roche. They do have mech on Luo, which will be used. They're still somewhat low, but fighting into this pit for NewBee is going to be hard without lasso, but they might try it. Of course, the Astral Spear is doing a lot of damage. Nice arrow again.
Do they want to commit, though, is the question. There's a blink-in initiation attempted by Xiao 8, but he's just probably going to end up going down to these wards. Barely lives now. Call down thrown out. That's also really not connected on anything, and a bit of a chaotic fight emerges, but yeah, in the end, Xiao 8 will just run away, and the Aegis goes onto the Death Prophet. Speaking of which, I didn't actually see it when 430 initially got it, but he has gone Midas on the Death Prophet.
That's very unusual. I think the reasoning here for IG is what we drafted for was to try to start taking towers and end the game pretty early. We're now 14 minutes in and we've managed to take 1 tower, so maybe we're looking at a later or a longer game where Death Prophet will actually need to be a really substantial carry, because she needs to be able to play against a Gyro with Elder Titan in the late game. And as her carry friend, she has a Razor who really falls off in late game generally. And then on the other team, you have a hero like Batrider as well to initiate late game team fights, which he's the best at in the game. So perhaps IG, this is the backup plan. They're like, okay, it's not going to work the way we imagined, we'll try to take it late. I don't know if that's going to work, though.
Yeah, and, well, if you want to go late game, says NewBee, we have no problem doing it either. They pick up a Midas now for the Gyrocopter. He had pretty much a completed, not a completed BKB, but he was getting close to it. And instead, he'll go greedy as well. So, I mean, if it goes late, I guess we've got to say it's even at best, and maybe even NewBee favored with the better initiation and the... We've just seen game after game, the team with Elder Titan, if it goes late, always seems to have the edge. So, yeah.
This is giving me flashbacks to MLG Columbus, where teams were just buying Midases on all heroes in all situations in the game. It's just...
well, it even started... Yeah, I think the worst was even before that, when... shortly after Misery went for the Crystal Maiden Midas, I forget what event it was for, but back when he's still in LGD towards the end of last year, and then there were games where like 6-8 players would get Midases, like, no matter what the situation.
Yeah.
Teams were like, wait, if you want to go 3 or 4 Midases, we can just push you down. and be aggressive in the early game. And unfortunately, the Midas
has a
craze
blink.
died down.
Might be using it here. Oh, he's holding onto it. So the Shadow Shaman has what he needs for now, and we might try to see a siege here from IG, but it's just going to be so hard. They need to... This is where the problem is for their lineup. They need to push into Venom Wards, Astral Spirit, and Call Down. And the constant threat of Bat Rider jumping on one of them. This is very difficult to play against. They're doing a good job now, though, but essentially it's just going to be a trade.
Well, the blink is shown off here, and they're going to try and Songsheng. Mu also forced to retreat out, and dropping quite low to Luo. Will be able to bring him down with one more right click. Doesn't get it off. He's actually going to live. They do lose Songsheng on the backside of the fight, as Banana tries his best to defend this one, but he's really got no backup for that. And, well, How? Dropping a call down, but off the mark, he begins pursuit of Tron and Faith. The support's now isolated while the dive on the base goes through. Luo will find the second kill of the engagement to go with the Veno. Barely living was the Elder Titan, and now Xiao 8, he lassos Faith, but there's no damage to follow this up. You can't right-click during lasso anymore. Doesn't even get this kill. He needs 2 more, but he gets hexed. How's come from the backside, and it looks like they'll find a Shadow Shaman return kill. Albeit it took a lot, and they did lose a tier 1, but a rather just discombobulated fight for both teams. But IG, I suppose, coming slightly ahead there, and they'll also take a tier 1 bottom, which is a pretty big win for them.
Yeah, that's the real win here, is that they ended up trading 2 towers for 1. They lost the top tier 1, but got mid and bottom, and now with the greed that we saw from Ferrari getting the Midas, he's getting really farmed in spite of that. He already has a Yules as well as 2,000 gold, so I mean he's starting to be a real threat already, and maybe we can see for IG actually going for the kind of push that they were hoping for with their draft after all.
Well, the chase is on now. He's feeling confident, even without the ultimate. Just dives into the middle of Hao and Songsheng. Faith trying to kill a Banana on the backside. He's pretty tanky, though. Hao's the key target. He's the high-value kill, and they'll get him. Xiao 8 returns to the fray, but doesn't actually have his lasso, while Banana gets isolated on the backside of the engagement. Tries to retreat out. YYF in heavy pursuit. Xiao 8 still chasing forward. No lasso available, but continues to run. Banana still retreating out. Luo, no backup for him. They've chased Banana down, but if they lose the Razor, it won't be worth it. A nice Moonlight Shadow keeps them alive, and now 430 will pop his ultimate. Is he going to drop down into the Earth Splitter? Yes, he is! That's the Death Prophet dying instantly. No ultimate for round 2 of this fight, but it seems like it won't matter. With the Plasma Field here, Mu and Xiao 8 have been herded back towards the well. They'll continue pursuit. Mu retreating, and that'll end the engagement, but it's a 3-for-1 exchange. They do lose the Aegis. It wasn't the best Death Prophet, and a really nicely timed Earth Splitter by Mu, but nonetheless, not enough.
Absolutely sick Force Staff by Xiao 8 as well. That was just perfect. The Plasma Field was expanding from the Razor, and he got forced out right outside the max AoE of it, so he didn't take any of the damage. And then Xiao 8 knew that if he didn't take damage either, his blink was off cooldown 1 or 2 seconds later, so he managed to both save the Elder Titan and himself with perfect play there. So really nicely done. Overall, IG still come out on top of this, but this is so dead even right now. Pretty much, let's see, 1,500 gold, actually 3,000 experience. But these numbers in the grand scheme of things, pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, I guess, for IG was that Gyro died, right? Or was that even in that fight? It seems like these fights are so long, you lose track.
They're long, and they're just all over the place. Like, there's no, like, okay, let's just go. We'll kill one here, then go to the next. But, well, this will be a clear kill. Faith gets caught out of position. There's a silence here, but he's been pulled way out of position. No chance for anyone to back him up. And finally, our first clean Batrider initiation in quite some time. Yeah, I think he went down in that fight. Yeah, he died to the Death Prophet in the last engagement. It was him, the Veno, and the Enchantress, I believe.
Oh, Yules.
Really nice arrow. Perfect coordination here from IG as Songsheng gets caught out there. Ravage barely connecting on Mu. It's also found Xiao 8, but it's on the high ground. Not the best position to actually gauge into. And now the Earth Splitter. Luo jerking away from that. He'll retreat. And, well, Xiao 8's got nothing. He's got a Force Staff to get out if he needs it. And they'll go back in. They pop the Death Prophet ult. They rush forward. Connecting on Hao with an arrow. Just a bugged animation as it flies past him, but it did actually hit. Now looking for Banana right on top of him is 430. They'll Yules him up, and this Yules, every time the Yules gets pops in, it seems like it's a kill or at least a hero that's got to go back to base, and Banana looks to be the former variety. Down he goes. Veno's going to rejoin the fight. Don't know if it matters. The Batrider actually goes down on the high ground, and the stomp comes through, but no Earth Splitter, no Gyrocopter ultimate yet, and, well, this is going to be a tier 2. IG. It feels like one more good fight, and they'll break the base with this level of aggression.
I think this is the most useful Yules I've seen in a very long time. I love the item, and I love that it's been buffed a few times now and getting more useful, but this is just... It's just such a great item in this particular game, because what IG wants, they want these extended fights where they chase targets down and manage to finish them off with a DP ult. So they have Yules to do that, then they have Yules into Arrow, and they have defensive Yules for Ferrari himself so he can keep the ult running on Death Prophet, obviously. This is probably the best pickup he could have gone for. We generally see Death Prophets get it, but in this game it's just that much more amazing. So very, very nicely played here by IG. They're getting a very significant advantage now, taking the tier 2, they're taking their Ancients. Has the Aegis been... The Aegis expired, right? So, or it was used.
No, it was used in the last fight.
Roche is looking at, let's see, 3 minutes? Or... We don't know yet, actually.
We're about to find out how long in the next 3 minutes it'll be.
It's weird that we don't just know in advance. What's the point? Okay, he's spawning in 1 minute. It's a really short one.
Yeah, I'm still not the biggest fan of the clock, but I guess the thing is Valve doesn't want to make it too easy to read at a glance because, in theory, people can stream.
So we seem smart?
Well, it's more. I guess it's more for like stream cheating if there's pauses in tournaments. But I mean, end of the day, like if you really want to learn how to read the clock, it's not that hard. So. Yeah, this is I think the most farmed Death Prophet I've seen in weeks. And the Yules once again will start it off. It's an Arrow to follow it up. Shao Wei forces away, but still gets caught. Unfortunately, the call down is perfect. Hao, though, gets caught up in the wards. It's a beautiful ward trap. He does phase his way out. Already the Ravages connect on quite a few, though, and Hao is driven back along with Shao Wei. All the damage stolen. They lash down one. They're chasing more. They're diving NewBee deep behind their tier 3 towers. Moo brought down, and Ferrari 430 is looking for more. Just now getting the death notification as the lag amps up, but it's 3 dead. They're just being slaughtered like cattle in their own base. And this might be it. I don't know if NewBee can even fight. They do have a buyback available on the bat with the lasso, but another costly engagement. The 10-second BKB just amounted to nothing in that fight. And you gotta wonder, is this type of style just too strong? This tanky 5-man push strat where you just secure early map control and take Roche and just deathball them.
They're definitely making it work. It worked so well against DK yesterday, and DK actually were... I don't want to say DK gave the strategy to them, but DK actually played it the first in that series at least, and then IG just started doing the same, and whether it was DK's invention or not, or whatever you want to call it, it definitely works for both teams, and yeah... Dealing with this kind of stuff, we saw DK actually getting somewhat close to beating it yesterday by playing heavy split push with a TA and an anti-mage, but TA was just useless in that game for everything else than split pushing. So maybe you try to split push IG hard if they try this strategy in the next game, or you just pick so heavy lane focus that they actually don't even get to this point, but it just seems these days that winning the lanes that hard is just very, very difficult.
It is difficult, and it seems like all the Chinese teams just have such good map awareness, especially. Like, they drop their observer wards in the right places. They shut down the Enchantress a lot early with the aggressive movement into the enemy jungle. They knew the key for NewBee was to have a really strong start, and NewBee actually did pretty well. The laning stage looked good, but the follow-up just wasn't there. Hao went back for the Midas, and then he gets BKB, but he needs more. I think NewBee can still take this late. The question is if IG allow them to. But if we imagine Hao getting an MKB... you know, a butterfly, a satanic. If he gets to that point, I think that's where IG could struggle. But, I mean, he's a long way off. He's only got the first half of the first big item. If he wants his Demon Edge now, he can grab it. So, let's see what he does. And
considering that's the plan for, or that has to be the plan for NewBee to go that late, I'm surprised we don't see a pipe coming out from IG on either of their heroes. They're not running for the BKBs. As I said, they could perhaps choose not to do that. We've seen Ferrari going for Lincolns to counter out the Batrider. But, oh, here we go. I was gonna get caught.
This is not a good way to start the fight. He BKBs. No, he actually got thrown up in the air by the Yules and will go down. Now, the Batrider gets eviscerated and NewBee immediately retreat. But the Yules wasn't used. I'm just lagging really badly. I think that was the Ravage throwing him up in the air. And, well, Moo, now chase down. He tries to go for a TP out. It ain't gonna happen. 430 just shreds him a new one, rips him open from the inside out. And now they just try to backdoor the tier 2, but they can't quite do it. Yeah,
and actually, something from a strategic standpoint we haven't even talked about that's really solid about IG's draft. They've got Razor's ultimate removing armor, they've got Gush removing armor, and then they've got Death Prophet's ultimate. You just see this Elder Titan, he disappeared. He got Gush level 3, that's -4 armor. I don't think Razor ult had hit him though, but still, it's just... It's insane. Ferrari's ultimate is just killing everyone, they can't touch him.
And this is... The Razor is also getting scary now. He's got an Aghanim Scepter Sin, he's not too far off of the Refresher if he wants it. And then you've got two IG heroes that they run into the middle of your team with an Aegis with the Yules on 430 to bail him out if he ever overextends. If you go on them, there's the Blink Hex from the Shadow Shaman, the Blink Ravage to counter-initiate. And if you don't go on them, your base dies in a matter of like 20 seconds. So it really puts NewBee in a difficult position. They have to engage, but there's no easy target that they can just jump on and quickly blow up. And yeah, it's just psychologically, there's so much pressure in terms of trying to... How do you approach these fights if you're a NewBee? I don't know.
No, me neither. You have to play it ultra defensively, and then you have to get the perfect initiation from Xiao 8. I think if they don't get the... Who do they need to lasso, though? Lassoing Death Prophet means he has to Force Staff first to break the Lincolns, and then he can't really pull Death Prophet in.
And they
if he goes on Tide, he breaks and uses Ravage.
The only thing they have is the homing missile, which is a pretty good way to break Lincoln Sphere, but... I mean, still, 430 has the Yules, has the Blink Ravage to back him up, and if you go on Razor, you get hit by the Unstable Current, and you can force, but you're still not moving very much, so I like you said...
And with the Aegis, it doesn't really matter.
Who do you go on? I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, they've gone on Faith the entire game. He has 7 out of 11 deaths for his team. He's been caught out a lot, but it doesn't really matter in this game. He still has the items he needs, and with the entire rest of the team being as healthy as they are, I think for IG right now, it's just a matter of maybe you wait until you get the Refresher on Tide and maybe the next item on Razor, and then you break the high ground with Aegis, or you try now, but it's still a little risky at this point, even though they're... How much are they ahead by now? Almost about 10,000 at this point. But yeah, maybe they want to wait a little bit longer to just... They're gaining all the time anyway, right? So might as well.
Refresher is just such a game-changing item, especially getting it this early on Tidehunter, and they have a Shiva's Guard for the Death Prophet now, which just combos really nicely. So I feel like you could just bait out the BKB from Gyro, even if it costs you a Ravage, and then refresh, and as soon as the BKB wears off, they just can't defend the tower anymore. So yeah, I think the idea of waiting for the Refresher is quite strong, but let's see if they want to do it. If they get a kill, then they might not even need to bother, and oh, they're going to find how bottom lane. They just go in with Ravage #1. They don't even have the second. They don't need it. Gyro goes down, and he just spent his money. They saw the Eagle Song, and they knew he didn't have buyback, and, well, with that death, that's probably Rex.
It's going to take a while for the creep wave to reach it, though, as Chuan had to pull it from all the way over here. They were fighting, so the Death Prophet ult is actually going to end as the creep wave reaches the base, which is not really what you wanted, but at the same time, with a Razor level 3 ultimate with Ags, it's perhaps not necessary. Arrow from Chuan, not going to connect, but it's still going to be hard to push into this. I don't know if they can.
Maybe they do have to wait with no Death Prophet ult. But the Gyrocopter, well, he still died right after picking up his Eagle Song. So he gets the big item towards the Butterfly. I don't know how much the Butterfly is actually going to help him this game, though. I mean, I guess it helps you get the Razor's right clicks, but that's really about it. Yeah,
you can't evade the Ghost of Exorcism, so...
I mean, should he have just gone, like, straight MKB or more of a damage item, you think?
I think MKB might have been a better choice here, or even... Maybe this is too early for it, but...
Rapier?
Yeah,
Are we looking at Rapier?
I was thinking straight BKB Rapier, because if he doesn't deal enough damage, I don't think they're winning the fights anyway. They have to be feeling the pressure right now, and if he wants to go for a damage item, I think it's either MKB or Rapier in this situation, but the Butterfly makes a lot of sense against Mass Serpent wards and against Razor, but the real damage source coming out from IG is Ferrari, and it does nothing against him at all.
Yeah, the other thing is the minus armor IG have to go with those ghosts, and that comes from the Razor ultimate, it comes from the Gush of Tidehunter. It really amps up the Death Prophet. It makes her hit even harder than she already does. And we saw the Elder Titan on the fight bottom. He bought a BKB, but that wouldn't have saved him. He died just in a TP animation from full health to nothing. And he's a naturally reasonably tanky hero. He's got decent base strength, decent strength game, but hold that thought. We're on the Moonlight Shadow warpath here for IG, and they're looking for openings. They spot out NewBee farming the jungle. If they get How again, the creeps are in a good position here. They can reserve the Ravage to go for high ground. How just gets blown up. BKB comes out, but there's no follow-up for this. They Yules up the Enchantress, looking for the follow-up damage. Our Splitter will slow down some, but it won't slow down everyone. It's 430 just casually shreds Chuan, and, well, The Bat Rider
It's pretty
also
crazy.
falls.
Yeah, it's this is over. I agree with this GG call. But did you notice Ferrari when he was caught by Earth Splitter? He still had 410 move speed while under that slow.
I honestly didn't see it hit
a
him.
lot of slows, but he's just gonna run them down anyway.
Yeah, I'll be honest. In Perfect World Too Strong, I didn't actually see it hit him, and I wasn't sure if it did. So. That and the lack of and him still having great move speed, I hardly even noticed. But IG, the idea seems strong. The tanky cores, securing Roche early, getting the tower advantage, pushing with weather. I mean, even if you ban one of these heroes, there's others that can rise to fill their place. You ban the Razor Death Prophet. There's still the Viper available. There's still Doom out there who can fill a similar role with the Auras or just taking one of your heroes out of the fight. And I wonder how you defeat this style. Right now, it seems to be the flavor of the week in China.
Yeah, I remember I haven't watched the actual interview, but the title of the interview from Ake was Keeper of the Light is the counter to the 3 tanky core strat. So it seems like Alliance either played against it or figured out how they would deal with it if they were to. We'll see if NewBee is going to pull out a Keeper of the Light in the next game, if IG go for the same, or if they just disallow them from getting the strategy. I think it was I wouldn't say it was obvious what IG were going for, but considering that they played it against DK a lot yesterday with great success, and they got Tide Mirana as their first 2 picks, maybe you just ban out the Death Prophet instead of, what was it? They banned Ember and... Damn, what was the 4th ban?
Which game was it?
I mean, this game. They banned Ember 3rd, NewBee, that is.
I honestly can't remember.
But
we can check.
They know that IG is going to keep doing this. This is the classic thing with don't change your winning strategy. They don't have to change it until they lose. And yet they won every game with it yesterday against DK. DK won the game in which they had that type of strategy. We'll see if the director can come up with some sort of smart counter to it.
I think they banned Viper with the 4th ban, by the way. Is that right?
Was that? No, I think IG banned Viper.
Oh, IG banned Viper. Oh yeah, because they picked the Razor. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll check the replay quickly during the break. But guys, that is going to wrap up game number 1. This is the WVW NEST June Grand Finals. It's a best of 3, so IG now would take the series. NewBee will have to answer and take 2 in a row should they wish to win, which I'm sure they do. The director, like you said, Cinder, will have to search his soul for answers. Guys, you're watching Beyond the Summit. We'll be right back with game number 2. Stay with us.